Here.
Dion Jones.
Here.
Janice Lewis.
Here.
Kimberly Remack.
Present.
Diane Singer.
Here.
Donnie Singh.
Here.
Steve Stratton.
Here.
Okay, you've received in your packets or on your computers the minutes of the March 11th, 2025 meeting. Are there any corrections or additions needed to the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Have a motion by Ms. Remack. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Singer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the minutes have been approved. We have one item on the consent agenda, which is an item that's routine and non-controversial, so we do not warrant a full staff presentation and board discussion. But if you do wish to have that, we will do so. And it's a correction in the minutes from the January 14th, 2025 meeting. There was an omission in approving the consent item, since we're talking about the consent agenda here. So I need a motion to approve that correction.
I make a motion to approve the
All right,
correction of the minutes.
we've got a motion by Mr. Jones to approve the correction of the minutes. Do we have a second? I think Ms. Singer seconded it. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the consent agenda is approved. We've received a memo from Cliff McLemore on items 1 and 2 under old business, and the application was withdrawn by the applicant, so we will not hear those two items. So now we go on to item number 3. We have an application for a zoning map amendment submitted by Trey Byers and Lauren Ward, Daniel Coker Horton and Bell, PA, on behalf of property owners Robert Bailey, J&M Holdings, LLC. The request is to correct an error in zoning from AR Agricultural Residential to R3 Planned Residential District, and to approve the project text and development plan for Bristol Oaks. The 38.89 plus or minus acre subject property is located at the southeast corner of Pleasant Hill Road and State Line Road, and it was tabled to this date at the meeting on January 14th, 2025. We will now have the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planning Commissioners, you may recall, just to kind of recap what happened in January of this year, precisely January 14. You did receive an application for the rezoning of this piece of property at the southeast corner of the intersection of State Line Road East and Pleasant Road North within the city of Olive Branch. This is where you have the dump across the state line in Memphis. Villages at South Branch is under construction at this location. Stonecrest constructed at this location. And then you have the other developments that surround this particular piece of property. It is currently Zone AR, Agricultural Residential District, and you had received an application back then in January for this piece, 38.89 acres, to be rezoned from AR to R3, Planned Residential District. The argument was basically the claim that when this property was rezoned in 2012 from R3 to AR, the city did that as a mistake on the basis that in 2005, this is what was approved. This was the layout of the project text for Bristol Oaks. It was a 48.69 development, consisted of 71 lots. He had access from Pleasant Hill Road. It was a private gated community. This is what the city had approved in 2005. And then in 2011, all of this was basically scrapped by rezoning the property back to AR, District Agricultural Residential. So the request you heard in January of this year basically asks that you kind of reinstate that R3 zoning district. 51 lots were proposed for a density of 1.32 dwelling units per acre. There was no access on State Line Road, contrary to what you had back in 2005. and it was not proposed as a gated community, contrary to what you had in 2005. You did hear the arguments that was presented by Ms. Lauren Ward, who is here present, and your determination, at least if you had gone with a determination that it was a mistake, you would not have sent them back to go and kind of rework the application. You advise the applicant to go back, rework the application, consider arguments regarding changes to the character of the neighborhood and public need, instead of just a mistake in the zoning. You really didn't find that there had been convincing evidence presented that Ms. Solomito was not appointed or assigned by JM&H Holdings to represent them in this application. That has been attended to. At that meeting in January 2, you had a couple of neighbors that spoke in opposition to this application or expressed certain concerns. One of them had to do with stormwater issues, for example. This plan, as you see, did not include any stormwater management because the argument was that in 2005, that was not required, just as you have shown here. But you did not find that that it was a mistake in the zoning. So you send the applicant to go and provide those stormwater management infrastructures, provide open space to conform with the current regulations of the city. So that's what you ask the applicant to do. 3 main things. 1, provide arguments for change in the character of the neighborhood and a public need. 2, provide open space, minimum 10% to meet the current zoning requirements. And 3, provide for stormwater management to meet the current regulations of the city. Those are the 3 main things that you ask the applicant to do. The applicant has basically done just that. The first, I should point out, in what is before you, the applicant has maintained the zoning mistake argument. That has not been taken out. What they've basically done is they have added the change in character of the neighborhood and a public need argument, basically copying from the staff report as it were at the time. They have provided the stormwater management area on this piece of property now and provided the 10% open space. So all of this area, this stormwater management, all of this is open space. In this open space, they have added a trail network and provided a gazebo as some kind of recreational amenities for the subdivision. In providing that open space and the stormwater management area, the number of lots therefore reduced from 51 to 42. That also implied a reduction in the density from 1.32 to 1.08. I should say something about this 1.08. It's interesting. In the AR zoning district, which the property is currently zoned as, AR, the minimum lot size is 1 acre, the density is 1 dwelling unit per acre. So the density as proposed here is basically 1.08. That is negligible compared to the one. It is basically an AR development. You know, if you really look at it from a density point of view, there is no difference between these. And if the property is developed as AR, there's really no big difference. The only thing you've got here is the lots are a bit smaller because you're using a lot of space, the property to provide for open space. If they went straight and developed this property under the current AR district, they will not have to provide that open space. They will just give you 1 large acre lot with no open space and no amenities. So really from a density perspective, this is same as an AR development. You know, if you look at the gross density of the entire property, it's really no significant difference with AR development under the current zoning district. With regard to the character of the area and the public need for this particular rezoning to the R3, the applicant contends that at the time this property was rezoned to AR, or even before 2005 when it had the AR zoning district, there was no sewer in this area. That was generally the way properties were developed when you don't have sewer. You need to have the lot sizes to be large so as to provide enough area and duplicates for subsurface sewage disposal. At this time, sewer has been extended into the area. All these lines in green, that is public sewer. And it will be the responsibility of the developer to extend that sewer onto this lot. to service each of those lots. Water has also been provided in the area. Basically, urban infrastructure is available to allow for the development of lots that are less than 1 acre in size. That is why Stonecrest, for example, developed as less than 1 acre lot. When these are very old lots in the sense that they were developed decades ago at a time when you didn't have sewer. That's why they are at least 1 acre in size. Stonecrest is less than 1 acre. It was developed, approved 2006, developed I think 2019. Sewer was available. Stonecrest, Villages are South Branch under development, less than 1 acre, sewer is available. Across the street, where you've got Chickasaw Heights with houses that are 2,000 square feet in size, 75% brick on all sides, the same thing that is being proposed on this particular development. The lots are less than 1 acre in size. So the character of the area over time has developed with lots that are less than 1 acre because of the availability of sewer. That is a change that has taken place in this particular area. One other thing that I wish to call the board's attention to is the improvement of Pleasant Hill Road. Pleasant Hill just used to be a small 2-lane road. If you go out there now, you see the expansion into a 5-lane road that is ongoing. So that is a change in the character of the area to provide transportation capacity that is sufficient to handle this increase in density in these particular areas. So traffic conditions are even less than 1 trip every 3 minutes. Basically, now it's like 1 trip every 2 minutes because the number of lots has reduced significantly. Stormwater management facilities have now been provided. Preservation of open space, all of that has been provided. From a public need perspective, this is necessary to provide for attainable housing in the city. There's one problem, though, that has not been resolved. One problem. The project's text that you have before you is still submitted with strike through and underline. This is only used when you are dealing with a project text that is still valid, that is still legal. So let's say if the Cascade came before you today to make an amendment, because the project text of the Cascade has not been repealed, that property has not been rezoned, basically nullified, it will come before you, whatever the applicant wants to change, they will strike that. Whatever they want to add, they will underline it. But when you have a project text that has been basically nullified by an act of rezoning, and you did not find that there is a mistake in zoning, the project text basically has to be a new document. Not strike through and underline. It's on this basis that staff makes this recommendation to the board, to the Planning Commission, that upon finding that the character of the area has changed from rural estate to suburban residential, especially with the extension of public water and sewer infrastructure to the area, and that the public need to provide attainable housing options in the city exists, recommend that the Board of Aldermen approve the rezoning of the subject property from AR to R3 for the Bristol Oaks Plan Residential Development. So that is the rezoning part of it. Then as far as the project text and the preliminary development plan is concerned, upon finding that the applicant has not satisfied its burden of proving by clear and convincing evidence that the 2012 rezoning of the subject J&M property from R3 to AR by the Board of Aldermen was a mistake, and therefore that the project text and preliminary development plan for Bristol Oaks, as was originally approved in 2005, stands voided, recommend that the applicant submit to planning staff. This doesn't have to come back to Planning Commission. Just submit to planning staff an updated version of the current proposed project text for Bristol Oaks that is dated March 20th to 2025. Submit it as a new project text with the preliminary development plan that you have before you today, without any strike-through and underline amendments, before the Board of Aldermen may schedule a public hearing to decide on the application. On the other hand, alternative motion, if the Planning Commission finds that the character of the area has not changed and that a public need does not exist to warrant the proposed Bristol Oaks Plan Residential Development, you can recommend that the Board of Aldermen deny the rezoning of the subject property from AR to R3 for the Bristol Oaks Plan Residential Development. By such denial, the proposed project text and preliminary development plan for Bristol Oaks shall be of no effect. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? All right, no questions. I see Ms. Ward here, so she's representing the application. If you please come forward.
Hello, everyone. I will be much more brief than I was last time. You've heard from staff. There's no really disagreements with the procedural information he provided you. As you're aware, my last argument centered on mistake. I would tell you my client still proceeds with that defense. There was a mistake made in 2012. That's our position. That's why you saw the strike-throughs in the underline in the project text. That is still something we believe is a viable, I guess, defense at this point to why my client needs to get a correction rather than a rezoning. Again, we did not believe anybody had the authority to apply for a rezoning at that time on the client's property. I won't belabor that point any longer. You all were here in January. I would just refer you to the video of that meeting. What we're here for now is obviously the change in circumstance argument that you all asked us to go back, brief, and bring back to you. We agree with what staff's provided you with. The area's changed. Utilities have developed in such a way that this development can be here. These lots can be here. Thought it was a great point by staff tonight that these lots are nearing the 1 acre on average size. And we're now providing for the green space and the extra stormwater management and the sidewalks that were asked for in the last meeting while we were here. So we've made those changes. I know the project text was brought up. If it's decided here tonight that we can proceed with the rezoning to the next level with the Board of Aldermen, I've already consulted with Bob Barber. We can certainly make those changes in a timely manner and come with a fresh presentation for the Board of Aldermen. So if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them, or if you need anything else from me.
Okay. Any questions, Ms. Ward?
Thank you for your time.
No questions. Thank you. I will now open the public hearing up. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor or against this application? All right, if you'll please come forward and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, please.
Thank you for seeing me this evening. The notes that you took from last time, did they get proceeded to other people concerning the drainage in the corner? I think lots 49 and 50 on the new development, but I live, on that adjacent side, about all the storm water that comes through. I didn't know if it got passed on to anybody.
Do you staff wish to answer that? I know
Yes.
they were in the minutes.
So in this new design, the applicant has provided for the stormwater management. So that area you see there in blue on the site plan.
Yes.
So on the preliminary development plan, that will be the detention pond. So they will have a detention on this piece of property. We kind of looked at the topography of that particular area and how it drains.
Yes.
Because they are now providing curb, gutter, sidewalks,
Okay.
they will have to pipe all that water and bring it into this detention pond.
From my corner.
From that corner, yes.
Okay.
So it will not be, the way it was previously presented was just going to sheet flow and just go anywhere, you know.
Right.
But
Like
now
it does
it's
now.
all going to be piped and brought into this detention pond.
Okay, there's, the subdivision I live in, there's probably, 35 houses? And they're gonna tie into the existing.
Yes, so we've looked at it. If you look at your property, kind of at the back, it slows down towards their own property. So they will collect all that water. And under the city's stormwater regulations, and this is the good thing about doing all of this from fresh, instead of going the 2005 approach. Under the city's current stormwater regulations, they cannot discharge from this site more water than they are currently discharging pre-development.
Yes.
So if right now let's say only 1 centiliter of water is coming from this side, after development, you cannot go above that 1 centiliter. All of that water will have to come down into that detention pond, be held there, and then discharged through pipes slowly across the street.
Okay,
So the stormwater management will be taken care of.
Because I know this past weekend we had an unprecedented amount of water.
Yeah.
The design they have down there now is not holding it. Like it made its own path over it.
Yeah.
Culvert pipe couldn't handle the water coming through
Yeah.
there. That's what my concern is.
Yeah.
And there's a pump station there next to it. So if they tie this new subdivision in with what's existing, there's problems with the pump station now. They have to come out every day, sometimes twice a day to work on it. I'm talking about every day.
I don't know whether they would tie it to the pump, but the city engineer is aware of that.
Okay.
They will have to do stormwater calculations, the engineer working on this. This is just the first phase. They have not yet even gotten to subdivision phase. They are still, when they get all of this done,
Sure.
they have to sit down and do stormwater management calculations and account for every little cubic feet of that water. And then they will have to decide how much, how large that detention pond has to be, how large the pipes have to be, and then submit those construction plans to the city engineer. He will review all of them. And if they are going to generate more water from this side than what is currently going in, he will not approve the plans. Send it back to them to correct it and increase the capacity. So they go through that process. It takes months before it's approved and then they construct.
Because that piece of property does get flooded.
Yes.
Once it passed
Right now they have no design. There is nothing out there.
Okay.
Everything is just sheet flowing.
Sure.
And then now they are going to actually take care of it.
Because like I say, once it passes my backyard, it's created ditches and creeks, and there's a lot of, but anyway. And my other concern, real quick, sir, this buffer, this tree line buffer, I guess, on the back end of our property, the beginning of their property,
Okay, at the bottom of the screen.
will they just come in and get rid of all the trees that are there now and put up new stuff as a buffer?
I'll leave that to the planning commission to
Okay.
make a decision on it. It's
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else wish to come forward? If not, then our public hearing is closed, and I will now refer this to the planning commission and commissioners as to any discussion or comments or motions that they wish to make at this time.
Well, I would just like to not maybe make a motion, but I just want to say that in looking at the preliminary plat that was up here, it did show on here that there was trees around this whole, and I just want to make sure that if there is a motion that goes forward, that we include that there would save the mature trees to border this, just as it's here, so that there is a barrier for your home, sir, and everyone else's.
Anyone else?
You want that added to the project text?
We can add it to the project text to be presented to the Board of Aldermen, that the buffer would be there. And,
yes, sir. I think this is kind of similar to what you had on Carson Creek, where you had an R2 development of smaller lots adjoining a larger lot subdivision. And I think there, Jason, do you recall, was it a 20-feet buffer? Was it 30 feet? Do you recall?
I think that it was. I mean, my only word of caution on that would be, and I haven't looked at the topography, but if they need to get positive drainage flow, because I think the gentleman's complaining about the drainage to the south, so if you were to get positive drainage flow back to the stormwater system, you're gonna have to fill in the back of the lot to bring the water to the front, so that would make it very difficult to save trees. I'm not saying it can't be done, but that might be something to consider, and I do believe that buffer was 20 feet.
I think so.
Does that make sense?
So, you may not want to be too, you may want to leave a little flexibility there to account for the need to, have the drainage go toward the street, have the water go toward the street.
And if they cut the trees down because of the stormwater management, which is important, we don't want any of the houses flooding, then they can replant trees of the same caliber like the ones you have along the streets on commercial lots, like 3.5 caliber trees. Those ones will grow pretty fast. By the time they are planted, they are basically significantly big already.
So you may want to say something like either save or replant a buffer in the event that existing vegetation needs to be cleared for drainage purposes.
20-foot buffer with either existing trees or replanted trees after the drainage is taken care of. So, okay.
20-foot reasonable?
What's it showing right now?
There is nothing.
We don't have that.
There's no buffer right now.
Typically, there's like when we subdivide these lots and stuff, there's like a 10-foot easement behind the lots anyway, right? There's like a 10-foot setback.
Yes, there is a 10-foot drainage, utility easement.
Utility
There's a
easement, no matter
10-foot
what,
utility.
anyway, we have to do that, right?
Yeah, but you can clear down the trees in the utility easement.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, one thing, I actually had a situation like this where we did have a landscape easement behind a property we were developing, and we did have a lot of drainage issues, but we couldn't fix those drainage issues because it wasn't a landscape easement. So that kind of created an unnecessary issue where we could have just actually done something that was better, instead of having to abide by that. So, yeah, I mean, that gets a little tricky, I think.
You'd want some type of screening language instead of trees, you could use natural or artificial screening. Yeah,
It gets
but
tricky,
fencing is
yeah.
also
Yeah,
when
yeah,
if you've got water runoff.
yeah.
Would we get an opportunity to look at any additional planning after this?
If this is being developed in one phase as proposed, then there will not be a preliminary plat. This will just go straight to construction plans.
And
I think the option of either saving the trees, or if they bring down the trees to handle the stormwater, then they replant. That should take care.
Yeah, but it will be submitted with the application to the board and alderman. I mean, they will have this
Yes,
language
yes.
in there.
They will rework the project text and include that in the project
Okay.
text.
Well, they have to redo the project text anyway, right, to get rid of the striking and everything like that, okay.
So, 20-foot buffer, retain or replant, as many mature trees as possible. How would you, I mean, I don't know. If there's a 60-foot tree out there, replanting that gets expensive.
Big tree spade might be needed.
Yeah. All right, all right, leave it at 10 foot. Yeah. All right, so, stick with me on this. I make a motion, to recommend approval regarding the rezoning of property from AR to R3 based on the changes, based on the changes in the area and the need. However, reject the project text preliminary development, or the strike through and underline of the preliminary text, and add to the motion that the developer include a 10-foot buffer. That's my motion.
All right, let me see. We have a motion to rezone the property from AR to R3, and the new project text and preliminary development plan without the strike-through and underline amendments for the Board of Aldermen, and also have a 10-foot buffer on the property line. Does that sound about right? And then retain and replace any of them. Yeah, retain or replace the tree buffer.
I think we need to specifically
Okay,
spell that out.
put that in the motion
Yes,
also.
retain or replace the trees within the buffer.
within the buffer. There we go. Do we have a second to the motion?
I second that.
All right, we have a second by Ms. Remack. Any other discussion on this item? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the motion carries and the application is approved. And it will go before the Mayor and Board of Aldermen. Do we have a date that would be going?
Based on the recommendation that you made, I will get in touch with Mr. Bob Baba tomorrow in the morning
Okay,
and see how soon he can get us a clean text, a new text. That would determine how fast this goes to the Board of Aldermen. If he can get it to us today's Tuesday, by Thursday, then the public hearing will be third Tuesday of May, which will be May 19th. So the Board of Aldermen will hear this on May 19th. If Bob can get everything to us by by Thursday this week. If he cannot get it, then it will be June. June 17th. Okay. So either May or June 17th. So either May 20th of June or June 17th. If we can get everything in on time by Thursday this week, then it will be June 17th. If not, it will be May 20th. If not, it will be June 17th before you can get a public hearing at the Board of Aldermen. All right. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Any other business that need?
Yes, sir.
presented.
I wish to bring your attention to one other business that was not on your agenda. This is not really an item that needs a kind of a decision or a vote. It doesn't have to go back before the Board of Aldermen and all of that, because this was not included as a condition of approval. You will recall the Dancing Oaks, this was called Dancing Oaks, truck stop that you recommended a rezoning, no, not a rezoning, project text amendment at the intersection of Progress Way and Hacks Cross Road. In this area, this is where you have Wiseman Drive and that new subdivision. You had an extensive discussion at that meeting regarding this driveway to the north, where you wanted it to be right in, right out only. This is what was designed. And your minutes reflect that recommendation or requirement. The applicant went back, redesigned it, and provided this right in, right out only. That's what was approved. The construction plans have come back. The city engineer has looked at this and has said, basically, in his opinion, a right in, right out only will not be the safest option. And we didn't want to just have these approved, kind of sign off on the plans administratively. Since it was in your minutes, I think it's necessary that the board be aware, that the planning commission be aware. It is the city engineer's opinion that if you have trucks coming in this way, the safest, the commonest way, if you don't have a very large area where they are able to make turns, the safest way is for them to just come in, fuel, and go. But we took into consideration the concern about having left turns on Hacks Cross Road for trucks, which was one of the big issues that was under that planning commission considered in requiring this to be right in, right out only. You did not want trucks making those left turns on Hacks Cross. And so the proposal that I've come back with is to make this, left turn, you'll be able to come in. So if you're going up north on Goodman on Hacks Cross Road, you can make a right in into the side. If you are going down on Hacks Cross Road, you'll be able to make a left into the side, but then maintain only right out for trucks. So there will be no left turn at this intersection. So it basically turns this from a right in, right out only to left in, right out only. You still will not have any left turns. Trucks will have to come to this intersection and go in and then they will be able to circulate and go out. If a truck wanted to come down south, they will not be able to make a left turn here. If you want to come down south, they have made the measurements and determined that this area will be sufficient for them to make that turn. So I wanted to have that in the planning, let planning commissioners be aware before the city engineer signs off on this.
So there's no action we need to take, it's just we're aware of it.
Really,
Yeah.
it was not if it were a condition in the Board of Mayor and Alderman's approval of the project text, this would have had to go back to the Board of Alderman,
Okay.
if it were a condition. But the Board of Alderman have gone back and checked, they really they did not discuss that driveway issue. It was really discussed at the level of the Planning Commission, and so I wanted the Planning Commission to have a say or be aware of this before it's. You shouldn't be expecting to see something else out
I
there.
appreciate that.
Any questions to staff on this?
I definitely, just like Dion said, we appreciate it being notified of that, but it's a little disheartening that they didn't discuss at the board level that entrance, because that entrance, or being right in, right out, was probably the biggest selling point to those neighbors on Weissman. That was really one of the biggest things that made them comfortable with the entire project.
Yeah.
So if I remember at that meeting, it was pretty contentious until we came up with that right in, right out situation. And then they were like, okay, well, that kind of helps us out. And I get it. Like, I mean, this doesn't change the fact that trucks can only get out in one direction. But, you know, we kind of made a commitment to those people that live there, and you know, to change it, and that the board didn't even have a discussion about it was a little disheartening. So
I think one of the reasons the board might not have discussed it is because what was presented before the board was already right in, right out. So then they didn't have to belabor a point when, you know, it was already designed as such. And I agree with you, that came up because of the concerns from the neighbors. They did not want those trucks around their neighborhood circulating, making turns here and there. And this was kind of like a compromise position, kind of midway. Instead of having trucks, full access for trucks, where they're able to go in, go out, and that just becomes a busy intersection for location for truck access. You basically only have it one way. This may never happen. You may never have trucks here. I spoke with a developer yesterday. The Board of Zoning Adjustment has approved a conditional use permit for him for another truck stop on Polk and Goodman, which appears to be a better location for trucks. And he's contemplating just having a truck stop only at that location, and then only doing their normal gas station with 3 buildings or so at this particular location. But he just wanted to have that option as he kind of thinks this through. He's leaning more towards not even doing these trucks here.
So he's just wasting our time.
Well, I want to have everything in the books before Jason and I are left holding the back.
Right. Any other business to be brought before us?
No, sir.
Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Motion made to adjourn by Mr. Jones. Do we have a second? Have a second by Mr. Singh. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are officially adjourned.